Hello, beauty therapists. This is Kathleen here, and I'm really, really excited and I feel very privileged to be here to share this topic with you. And you might have just read the title, and that is How to Prevent Injury as a Beauty Therapist. I feel very passionate about this topic, and not just before my injury, which I'll tell you a little bit more very soon, but more so now because I've had a lived experience. So I'm really excited to share this with you, and I apologize for this. I'm trying to keep my phone up straight. Oh goodness, that's okay. We're making it work. So I'm sitting here in a chair at the moment because I'm a little bit sore in my back at the moment. This is not a pity party. This is actually me sharing what happened to me and how you can prevent it, because in my short time of being a beauty therapist, I have seen time and time again beauty therapists injure themselves, be off of work, change industries. And for those of you who don't know, I'm actually a qualified remedial massage therapist as well. So I not only have that experience of being around beauty therapists, but I work with back injuries, and I understand the anatomy of the back and how the muscles work and how these back injuries actually happen in the first place. So I hope that you get something out of this, and I hope that this prevents an injury with you. I was a little bit silly and didn't do the work for a little while, so I'm here to tell my story. So before I get into all the hows, I'd love to share with you what happened. Oh, the scary moment last week. So last Saturday, I was working in my clinic, and look, 80% of the time I'm sitting down in my clinic chair and I'm doing skin treatments. So, I'm sitting like this, and yes, I'm leaning forward, but I'm generally pretty straight up. I'm not putting that much tension on my back. I am forward a little bit, but it's not extreme. And about 20% of the time I'm providing massage therapy. So that's where I'm at here. And look, I'm not overweight, but I haven't been. Hello, Carolyn, and hello, Catherine. It's nice to see you, Catherine. I'm not overweight or really kind of imbalanced. I'm quite a slim person, so I'm not kind of heavy on one side. I'm pretty petite in my frame, and I wasn't doing anything serious on Saturday when this back injury happened. So what was happening was I was with my last client on the day on a Saturday, and all I did was hand something over. No. So I grabbed something. I reached out and then all of a sudden, oh my goodness, I felt this, hi Carolyn. I felt this tightening of my back, and it was like, and I was like, whew. Kind of like a bit of a shudder, and I was like, all right, keep it together. I'm with the client. I'm like, okay, this is weird. This feels really weird. And she left, and all of a sudden I couldn't stand anymore. I was in so much pain. I was like, I just feel sick. So first thing I did was I went onto the floor and I started to do, those yoga poses where you arch, you go in and you crunch in your back, and then you arch out and you do like up like this, so like this. And so I was doing that, and I just felt, like it doesn't feel better. It feels really bad, and I felt like I couldn't walk. So I went and lay down on my massage table straight away, and I was in so much pain. I thought, okay, I'm just going to get myself into a comfortable position. I'm just going to lay here and it's all going to be fine. It was pretty intense at the time. Laid there, got one of those, the things, the knee bolsters that go under your knees, put that under my lower back. It was the only way to crunch it up that it felt comfortable. Woke up about an hour later. I'm like, oh, is the pain there? I can't tell. And I started to move, and it was this intense pain. I couldn't walk it was probably about an hour all up, where maybe a little bit longer, where I couldn't walk. And this was very, very scary. I'm 27. I'm not that really unfit or anything. I'm not old, and I don't have any other issues with me. So it was pretty scary. I couldn't walk. I was getting shooting pains down my legs, intense tightness. Like, it was at the point where when I try to move, I'm like, and look, I haven't had childbirth. And I haven't broken a bone. So maybe I was a little bit dramatic. I don't know. My partner thinks I was a bit dramatic. But look, it was intense. I've never experienced it. I'd say it's the worst pain I'd ever felt in my life anyhow. And yeah, I really struggled. And getting back to walking, like getting into the car, it was like, so you get the picture. It was a lot of pain. That night I was in agony. The next day I was in agony. And by that time I'd actually booked a physio and chiro appointment. Now, up past then, I've had multiple physio and chiro, and I'm walking and I'm doing my day-to-day things, and there was no serious injury. We basically did some tests, so muscle testing. You can actually find out a lot when you test the muscles, when you're qualified and you understand what's happening with your body. Hello, Brittany. But basically I had no issues with my vertebrae. This was more of a muscle-related back injury. But, you know, if you continue this pattern of not looking after your back, what once was a back strain can then turn into, you know, a disc issue. And I'm here to talk to you all about that. But I want to make it very, very, very clear that I'm in no way perpetuating the idea that your back is fragile and your back needs to be protected. Yes, it needs to be protected, absolutely, but it's not this fragile thing that we kind of make it out to be, like a back injury and then you're gone, like, you know, you're gone. It's not like that. Your back is actually a very, very strong structure, and your spine is meant for so much. It's a shock absorber. It plays a vital role, and is meant to be that way. It's just that through consistent positioning that is not it's not conducive to the right environments for a good, strong, healthy back, then yes, something will happen. So that was my experience, and I'm really, really lucky that I managed to get through a whole working week, working in my business, doing the things I do without having to take time off. Luckily, I had 2 mornings already taken off on the Tuesday and Wednesday. Oh, so lucky. But the rest of the week was really a struggle. Everything got put out. And imagine if you were a beauty therapist, you were working for yourself, and you put yourself out for 2 weeks. Could your business, survive? Could you look after yourself? Could you cook food? Could you do all those basic things? Could you pay the bills? Could you still live? And if you are thinking about, you know, if the answer to this question is maybe not, then this is definitely a reason for you to start working towards protecting your back ASAP. So yeah, let's go into how you can actually prevent this. Actually, let's talk about what I did wrong. So what I did wrong as a therapist and in my life to actually get to this stage, for the first thing was that I actually noticed this back pain probably about 6 months ago, 4 to 6 months ago. And look, I think as females and business owners, and really, if you're really driven as well, we can just get into this like, we've got to work mode, and you kind of, you know, it's fine, I'm helping others, it doesn't matter, we don't really connect back with ourselves. But I did feel this niggling pain in my lower back, in the sacrum area, so right at the bottom of the base. And to find your sacrum, it's kind of where those little dimples are in the bottom of your back. It's that little round area where your pelvis comes down from. So in that area, I could feel a little pain. I never felt that before. I was like, oh, hello. It's about a 3 out of 10, whatever. As the months went by, I could feel it creeping up, and it never got to anything intolerable. Probably, if anything, a 6 on some days. And look, what, you just take a Panadol, you just take an ibuprofen, and everything is fine. So it was something I could block out because it was not excruciating, it was not life-altering. But that was one of the biggest signs, and I didn't do anything about it. The next thing that I did wrong was, for a very long period of time, probably, oh goodness, actually, no, for the whole time I've been a therapist, I have not worked on strength training. Yeah, the whole time. Oh my goodness, I've been bits and pieces where I've gone to the gym and done some things, but it's not been consistent. So yeah, the whole time I've been a therapist, I've not focused on strength training. And it doesn't mean going to the gym and doing bicep curls. I don't mean that. I mean doing functional kind of exercises to strengthen your back and to keep your posture in a good way, so you're not hunched over, because in our industry we're always bending and hunching over, and we do a lot of manual moving and we're on our feet all the time. So we really need to strengthen our core, we need to strengthen our structures, and I should really be sitting up straight. I was kind of hunching over. We do that automatically. So that is one of the things. Another thing that I didn't do consistently was stretch and warm up. So I'm going to talk to you about those tips in a minute. What else? I wasn't taking magnesium. I wasn't doing yoga or Pilates or anything to strengthen. And I was probably the biggest cause, I wasn't being aware of my body movements. Now, when I first started in the industry, I was really good at bending my knees and really moving my body, you know, with what I'm doing. So I'm doing a massage and my whole body is moving, and I'm using my body strength behind me. I did that for a really long time, but when I went into my business a little over a year ago, you know, things start to get a little bit stressful. You're thinking about bills, you're thinking about just so many things. Does this client like me? Oh my goodness, all of these things. And you have this new level of stress that you kind of get conditioned to. If you're a business owner and you're watching, please let me know if you relate to this new level of stress. I'm sure you would relate to it as a mother as well. But essentially, my good habits started to slip. And all of a sudden, I wasn't doing wasn't holding myself correctly when massaging and doing these treatments. Compound this with everything else, you have a recipe for a back injury. So what do? How do you prevent it? Well, you reverse engineer what I just mentioned, and we're going to get into that. But this is actually a really good tip. Water, keeping hydrated is actually going to keep you, it's going to keep everything in your body at a better level. So I want to talk about water and fascia because, and in case you didn't know, I'm going to talk to you a little bit about what fascia is and why that relates to water and why that relates to your back injury, well, your body being a little bit out of whack. So you know how you have your muscles, you can touch your bicep, right? Or your pec, or your SCM, where you can see just here, your SCM. They're muscles, but what fascia is the casing around the muscles, going through the muscles, attaching to the tendons and the ligaments, and it's basically the casing that is all through you. It's your connective tissue. And your fascia, we're made up of a lot of fascia. And the thing is, your fascia is made up of about 80% water. So what happens when this fascia, which, by the way, if you've ever chopped up a chicken breast and you've seen that white film, it's like, oh, what is this white stuff? You peel it off and it's really tough. That's fascia. So we have that in and around our muscles, and it's connected from the top of our head down to our feet. So it's actually like this whole connected web. It's its own system, essentially, and it governs a lot of what we do. But essentially, fascia is made up of 80% water, and when it is hydrated, it is much more fluid. You can kind of imagine these little fibers. They can smooth and roll over each other like this. But when you're dehydrated, it's kind of like this. You can imagine it doesn't really move. It's sticky. It's like honey. You know when you have honey and you're like, oh, kind of like that with your muscle, with your fascia. So what happens when your fascia becomes constricted? It starts to pull you in one way, for example. So everything is connected, right? So say you've injured yourself here, your fascia will start to tighten up and bring your shoulder up. It governs a lot of our posture and a lot of things, and we have fascia in more areas. But all I'm trying to say here, drink more water, your fascia will be really happy. Because fascia does dictate how tight your muscles are, because it cases in and it's really constricts the muscles. But then your muscles can also get really tight, and if you're not flushing out toxins and waste material with good water, then again your muscles are just going to be really tight and contracted all the time. Water is important. Let's go right from the top. Let's talk about strength training. And I know it's not the funnest thing, and I just don't like it. I don't really associate with lifting heavy things and putting them back down. But I know through my understanding of how the back works and how our muscles work, we really need to. So let me just give you an example. So as beauty therapists, actually, if you're watching, I want you to do one thing right now. Just tune into your body and just feel, where do you feel tight? Most people, it's usually up here. You're feeling tight. As you know, you massage people, everyone complains up here. Or you'll start to feel that tightness in your mid back or your lower back. Just kind of tune into that and realize that's all at the back here. But what I want you to do is now, say if your tension's up here, I want you to tune in here. Can you feel tension here? No, you can't. Mine, but then when you start to press in, it's a little bit tender. This area here is very tender for, oh yeah, right there. So the reason why that is tender is because that muscle is contracted. So I want to show you just an example of how the anatomy of muscles work. So basically, can you see how my shoulders are a little bit rounded here? And they're going over. Now your shoulders should be about back here, but mine just swoop down just a little bit because this muscle here is super strong. So it's actually pulling my shoulder down. It is pulling it down. So what do you think happens to these muscles where you're feeling this tension and pain? What do you think happens to these? Well, those muscles are used to being back here, but we're now stretching them. So you find these muscles are actually being taut. They're like a rubber band at its maximum length. And so it's, you know what a rubber band's like when it's really taut, you can ting it and it's, you know, it's hard. That's what your muscles are doing, and this is how your muscles work. So this is just a classic example. Tight here, but also so tight and strong. So these muscles are overworked because you're always reaching over. You're contracting them through like this. But then these ones become tight and weak. So they're tight, stretched, but weak. So what do you think you need to do to actually alleviate pain here? You actually want to strengthen your muscles just through here. You want to make sure that everything sits back much easier, and then you want to stretch this area. So you want to start to look at the body like this and start to reverse engineer what you do on a day-to-day basis. So whether you do strength training or whether you do something like Pilates or yoga, which is very strengthening for your body, whatever you do, you need to counterbalance what you're doing every single day. It's kind of like reverse posture. So I sit like this all day. I hope I can show you, going like this, doing skin treatments and leaning forward. So this part of my back, I'm leaning a little bit forward, so it's being stretched. And that means my abs are now becoming really weak because I'm not holding them into position, as if rather than being sitting here and I'm holding them in. So you really want to reverse what you're doing. And just to show you for the lower back, this is what the physio is getting me to do now, is to essentially do this 10 times every hour. So reversing the posture, because I'm always like this, like that. So she wants me to do this and reverse, and it just makes sense. You want to show your body it's okay to be in this way. This is normal. So if you just continuously show it one thing, it starts to actually go, all right, let's tighten these up, let's strengthen this up, and it wants to help you to be in that position. But when you force yourself into position like this continuously over time, your muscles will begin to remember this bad position. And what is it going to do? It's going to pull on the bones. It's going to pull things out of whack, and you'll end up with all these areas of tightness and pain in your body. So you want to reverse everything. And this is really where stretching comes in. So remember I mentioned about the tight muscles here? Well, I should really be stretching, doing pec stretches. You can see I'm stretching it out and stretching those muscles that need to be stretched. One of the best tips I can give you that I'm not sure if many of you will do it, but if you can do it consistently over a long period of time, I promise it'll help. What I see a lot is pre-work when people talk about stretching. So they go into the workplace, and what I see a lot of therapists do is start doing this. All right, I'm getting ready for work, so I'm just going to, stretch back my wrists. So, you're getting ready and you're doing all these, stretches, all of these things like this, thinking it's going to help you. What I want to teach you is that is actually going to make you more susceptible to injury. So hear me out. Before work, you want to be warming up. So you want to increase circulation, increase oxygen in your body, in the limbs. And then after work, you actually want to then stretch. Because what happens, I'm going to use your wrist as an example. If you at the start of your day, before you go in to do some massage, and pretend you do this movement a lot where you're pressing down on your wrist, see that tension? Say you're doing this at the start of your shift, and then you're going to do this the whole shift and really put pressure on your wrists. What you're doing is you're actually essentially stretching them out, and you want them to be strong for you throughout the day. So what you need to be doing instead is doing this warm up, and there's actually studies to prove this. So all you need to do in the morning is simply stretch all your limbs, do a bit of a run around, bring heat and oxygen, and then at the end of your day do your stretches, reverse and the same way as well. Oh, so that was a bit of a mouthful. I need to have a little bit of water. But I hope this is all clicking for you. Yoga is fantastic at stretching your back, and just simply having a routine where you kind of check into your body and you start to feel how things are feeling and go, this feels a little bit weird. Maybe I should just move around, because your body intuitively knows what to do. Animals do. You see them stretching all the time. It's the first thing they do when they wake up. But what we do as humans, we get up and we just go. So make sure you're stretching, but in the right way. Warm up at the start of the day, stretch at the end. The next thing is posture. And I'm going to talk about magnesium a little bit after. I said I'd talk about that. But I just lost my train of thought. Oh my goodness, I said magnesium. Posture. So your posture, so important. It's about what you do all day that really makes a big difference. So if you're kind of, again, the wrist was a really good example, but if you're kind of stretching your back over and you're not bending your knees, you're putting tension on that area. And look, you could do that your whole life and not have an issue, but you'll get to a point where that loading is becoming too strong that something has to move out of balance. So the main points that you need to know as a beauty therapist, if you're doing massage, the best way to tell is by standing next to your bed and putting your wrist down like that. And basically you want to pull your bed up to the height of just touching your knuckles like this. So that is generally the right height, but you'll be able to find what is good for you. But that is about the right height. So again, you don't want to be doing deep pressure when you're not using the correct body posture, because it's only going to weaken your body and you're going to put strains on those areas. So this is why as beauty therapists we're not taught to do a firm and deep pressure, because it takes a lot more skills and knowledge to learn it. But perhaps if you are interested and you want to know a couple of little point of views, let me know and I'll happily come in here and teach you some skills to do more effective and more safe deep tissue. Using your elbows is one of them, and your forearms, really handy. Really grateful for my remedial massage experience. So your posture is everything. Make sure you're not hunched over. Just be really aware and ask somebody in the room to really look at you. Say if you're doing doubles or if you're in a business with other therapists, ask someone to just look at how you're sitting and just be aware. Are you kind of slumping over when you're doing facials like this? Or are you back straight and doing like this? Magnesium is a really, really big one because we don't really think about it, and we don't actually get much magnesium in our diets. Now, A really simple way to put it, what magnesium does for our body, well, it's one of our most abundant minerals, but what it does, it actually helps to relax the muscles. Whereas calcium, its counterpart, it actually contracts muscles. So, and that's a very simple way of putting it. There's a lot more complexities to magnesium and calcium, but when it comes to muscles, we get contracting and relaxing. So the thing is, we tend to get a lot of calcium in our diets, in a Western diet anyhow. But when it comes to magnesium, we get that from our fruits and vegetables. And unfortunately, due to all the modern day farming and all the things that we do, we are kind of pretty deficient in magnesium. You can't get it from many minerals. So we are already at an imbalance, and we need to have a good ratio of these two to be able to help our muscles, and actually helps our nervous system to function better as well. The nerves and the connections and your neural pathways, it helps everything. So you want to have a good amount of magnesium so your muscles can actually calm down. Now, I want to show you some signs from magnesium deficiency. So start to tune into yourself and see if any of these tick the boxes for you. So perhaps you feel quite anxious. So you almost feel a little bit like go, 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 and kind of like, like kind of like someone says something to you and you're like, huh. Go, go, go. Another one is muscle twitching. So do you ever get like a little twitch on your eye? Or around here, and you're like, what is that twitching? Or your finger at the end of the day, or maybe your thumbs are twitching. Your legs, maybe you're getting restless leg syndrome. Are you having trouble falling asleep? So many things can be related just like that to a low magnesium levels in your body. It's not something you can do a blood test for, unfortunately. Anybody, most people will benefit from magnesium, and there's a lot of different types, and you just want to do your due diligence and speak to your doctor, of course. But I found I've really liked the Bioceuticals brand. They're very good and reputable, and another one, Magtour, but it is only sold in certain practitioner places. So I go for the Bioceuticals Mag Ease, I think it's called, Muscle Ease it's called, so go for that. But essentially I wasn't taking that regularly, so take your magnesium. I feel like there was another point that I've forgotten. Please let me know if you're watching and you heard me mention it and I've forgotten it. I think that was it, but they're the main points, guys. Just have to pay attention. Oh, the biggest one, get massage, go to a physiotherapist, go to a chiropractor, whatever suits you. But if you're going to put stress and strain on your body, you must be compensating in another way. You can't just expect to drive a car that hasn't had a service for 3 years and just expect it's going to be fine. It's like your body, you need to give it a service. Massage, you know, it's one of those things with massage, we take it for granted when we're having it often because you don't really realize what bad feels like. But when you are bad, and not bad, but you're tight and tense, you don't really realize what good feels like either. So it's one of those things, you don't know what it's like on the other side until you get there. But essentially just keeping up with regular massage, going to a remedial massage therapist, or even going to your physiotherapist for a good analysis of your posture will be really, really helpful. Oh, great question, Brittany. She asks, are magnesium sprays okay? I want to give you a couple of pointers here because yes, magnesium chloride can actually be transferred through the sweat, through our pores. It absolutely can. We can recognize it. So that's why Epsom salt baths, magnesium sprays and creams do work really, really well. My personal opinion, I'm all for those baths, and I'm all for taking magnesium and eating a good diet. But when it comes to the sprays, I've not had a good experience. So generally they make you itch and tingle, and they're not the nicest for the skin. Honestly, I bought a few brands and I've tried a few, and I tend to be quite disappointed. So I'd much rather internally take it and help the nervous system of my body rather than just help the muscles. That's my personal opinion. But magnesium sprays absolutely do work. And my favorite brand out of all of them is the dark blue brand Electra. I like that brand. And I think the stronger the magnesium in the blend, the kind of yuckier it is to use. So yeah, that's really a beauty therapist. And just most importantly, protect your back. You know, it's never a good enough excuse to just say, I'm just, you know, I remember when I first started, I would do these big, try and help people with deep massage because they were requesting it. And I just didn't know how to do massage in a deep, firm way when I was a beginning beauty therapist. And I put all my energy, and I remember feeling so depleted and so sore and stretched out, and like, all for what? For someone who's never going to think of me again and walk out and be like, oh, it wasn't even firm enough anyways. Don't put yourself in that position. Stand your ground and just say in a nice, polite way, if somebody comes into your spa environment or whatever, your salon, and says, I only like firm massage, and you just say, that's wonderful, I agree, firm massage feels really nice. As a beauty therapist, I'm trained in relaxation massage, which generally only sits around the medium pressure, light to medium, and I just can't provide that firm, deep pressure that you're looking for. And they'll go, oh, well, you know, maybe they'll be okay, maybe they won't be, but you have to be strong in that, because as soon as you start pushing yourself, you're going to injure yourself. It might not be now, and it might be whenever it is. You're going to keep pushing yourself because you'll continue to do that same behavior because you pushed that boundary. So yeah, just say no. And if you don't have a boss that is backing you up, it's really not a good, conducive and safe workplace. You really need to sometimes, what's the word? You need to really back yourself up, because not everybody, sometimes, and I'm not saying all business owners are like this, but perhaps maybe they're only seeing the dollar signs and they're not really seeing your health and well-being, you know, and we can all do that. We can all fall into that trap. And at the end of the day, we all care about people. But if your boss is just saying, well, you have to provide this, you need to stick to your guns, because for one, you're not trained, you're not a remedial massage therapist, and guess what? Firm massage is not always better. A lot of the times I get really, really good results for my remedial massage clients doing lighter techniques. So please keep that in mind. Your body is the only body you've got. So with continuous strain over a long period of time, that spine, who is in a nice S-bend, it's meant, do I have a skeleton? No, I've only got the muscle chart in my clinic here. But essentially it's in the S-bend, and if you start to accentuate those S's too much, so let me show you. So if you start to have too much of a back in like this, so you accentuated that bottom arch, or perhaps you're accentuating the top bend, so you're going like this, it's putting pressure on the other ends of the spines. And those areas, say like a hunchback, you can imagine, because they're little discs on top of each other like this, little discs. When you start to have a bend, can you see how it does that? So maybe that's normal, but then it starts to really creep out, and then you're starting to put pressure on the spinal cord and all the nerves that come through, and eventually that little squishy thing in the middle, which we call our disc, it will actually start to bulge out and hit nerves, and that's what we call a slip disc or a bulge disc or herniated disc. It's because the vertebrae on top of each other, shock absorption, are being, you can see they're bending too much. So take that pressure away, strengthen the muscles, stretch the muscles, have magnesium, drink lots of water, and stick in a really nice ergonomic way when you treat. And make sure you do something about the pain when you first notice it. My promise to you is to do all of these things right. Tomorrow at 8:30 in the morning, I'm going to the physiotherapist. I can't wait. Chiro on Monday, and I've just signed up for yoga. So we're off to a new start, and I'm just really grateful that I didn't injure myself for the long haul. So Thank you so much for being here. Thank you, Brittany, for asking your question. And I look forward to seeing you all here next week in the Beauty Therapists of Australia Facebook group for some more live training. Like I said, I've got a lot of great topics coming up, a lot of awesome interviews with industry leaders, and I can't wait to be here with you. So thank you for tuning in, and don't forget to subscribe to the podcast on all places where good podcasts are found, Apple, Spotify, Anchor, all of those. Go search it. And yeah, if you're watching the replay, definitely comment below and have a conversation with me. I'd love to hear from you. Have a wonderful night, beauty therapists. And please comment below and let me know, have you injured yourself before? What have you done to recover from an injury? Do you have some great tips? Anything you want to share, I'd love to hear from you. All right. Thank you for being here. See you soon. Bye.